Hi, everybody. This is Diego. Welcome to another episode of the Candlepower Hour. Tonight we have a featured guest who has over 300 songs under his belt. As a kid, he grew up pondering all the crazy questions that kids ponder: science, space, the stars. As a matter of fact, I have a quote here from him. Everything burst out of the center of a supermassive black hole, and we are going back there one day. So we have with us Mr. Julian Shah-Tayler. We're going to get right into it because this guy's got a great story to tell. Welcome to the show, Julian.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Diego. Thank you, Mercury. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. You come from Wales, so we'll start off real quick. It's like, where do you come from? How did you get into music, and what brought you
To LA.
here?
So my grandmother's Welsh, and I was actually born in Leeds in the north of England, but we lived in South Wales. My mother and I, and we're essentially Welsh. And I went to boarding school. I went to Hogwarts. I got a scholarship to a music scholarship. It's called Durham Cathedral, and it's the basis for Hogwarts. It's the actual house system and all that stuff. I believe J.K. Rowling did base it on my school.
Oh, okay.
So,
wait. House system. I want to hear more about this. So there were houses for this school?
There are 4 houses. I was in Flambard. They're named for bishops in Durham Cathedral. So there's Flambard, Skirlaw. Oh God, I'm sorry, I don't remember all 4 of them. This is quite long ago.
What year was it?
What was the Harry Potter equivalent of your house?
So
Mercury, you're a little loud. Mercury, you need to pull the mic out back a little. Thank you.
I would like to say I'm probably, Gryffindor.
What year were you born? So what generation are you?
1974.
Wow. Okay. I'm from the 60s. So I'm 1966. So tell us a little bit more.
Myself, but I'm a millennial.
Tell us a little bit more about that school, the Hogwarts. Because I'm not too well connected to that. So that's really cool.
So when we were in Wales, we were my mother and I. She was a single mum, so we had troubles, surviving and all that stuff. And she had lots of jobs. I was a latchkey kid for a while. I don't know whether you know what that is, but anyway,
I was one.
So I went to stay with my grandparents, and they were just older. So they offered me the opportunity, and they knew I could sing and was very musical. My grandmother was very musical, so she invested all her time into training me in music and piano and trumpet and singing and all that stuff. And she was also a teacher, so she taught me French and really advanced me before I went to school. And we go to school at 7, 8 in England. And she offered me the opportunity. She said, look, you can get a really good education. Your friend has just gone here. There's this choir school in the north of England, but you have to board. And in England, boarding is a little bit more common than it is here. It isn't seen as a punishment. It's seen as a privilege in lots of contexts. So I got my music scholarship and the academic scholarship. So they paid me to be there. That was all a bit of a win-win. And because I was living with my grandparents, prior to that, all of my friends were old ladies from the Welsh Society. So I thought, this would be good. I'll be able to hang around with kids my own age. So I heartily embraced it. And I got a very excellent education and musical education from that situation. And the Hogwarts thing was, way in the future. So it's a 10th century building.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, what about the science and the stars and all of your the questions and your interest back then? What got you into all that? Was just being around education and all the higher education as a kid?
My mother is a very spiritual being. She follows a guru called Guru Maharaji, who was Prem Rawat. It's similar, but not the same as the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi that the Beatles followed. So there's a lot of Eastern Buddhist thought that was sort of jumping around in my mind and in my mother's way of teaching me things. So, that turned to me as a male mind. I want to say maybe there's a women are from Mars, women are from Venus, men are from Mars aspect to it. So that all translates into more scientific. Do you know who Brian Cox is?
No, sir.
Brian Cox he's the guy who was the keyboard player for D-Ream, and he became a quantum physicist. And I studied quantum physics at or the beginnings of quantum physics at my secondary school for fun. And
For
I found
fun.
it fascinating, string theory and all that sort of stuff and when I lived in Altadena, which is, when I first moved to LA, I found out that string theory was actually formulated in the Zorthian Ranch in the Altadena Mountains.
How
That was
was that?
invented by Richard or Robert Feynman. Richard Feynman, I think. And he invented string theory on a mushroom crazed night at the Zorthian Ranch.
I love it. I love it.
Fascinating. And
Yeah.
string theory makes so much sense to me, all these. So living life, moving forward as a human being, you experience all this stuff, right? And the stuff is often trying and difficult. But if you can remove yourself from the experience that you're having and observe yourself having the experience, it's a lot easier to deal with everything. So that's a kind of, imagine, in 500 years even, all my petty problems and issues will not matter to anybody at any point. Maybe John Lennon will have his life dissected and talked about for years to come. Mine won't. So why should I worry?
Wow.
I find it very, very funny how our interviews are always very aligned and in a spiritual way, and the messages that we get with each person that we bring on the show. I've literally been watching videos about that specifically recently and going on that myself. So Brian Cox
That's
and
wonderful.
everything, like very specifically recent.
Yeah,
Can I-
he's
can I-
great.
Can I ask you both, what quantum physics and string theory for lamos
dummies.
like me?
Okay,
For
so
dummies.
quantum physics is the science of the very, very, very small. So we know that atoms exist, but within atoms are quarks and gluons and the God particle, the Higgs boson. They exist within atoms. And they are the things that make atoms stick together and give atoms charge. And they wiggle in these like strange rotations. And that's what string theory is based on, that nothing is solid. It is all wiggly energy.
Wow.
That's quantum theory and M theory in a tiny nutshell, and doesn't go even close to explaining it. But
Yeah.
that's
And so now, as that science progressed in your childhood, you got into music. And is there a connection with the music that you write? The music that you write is phenomenal. I just want to tell you before we get into it, I'm very impressed. Your songwriting is beautiful.
Thank you.
Did the science and you growing up with those fantasies and realities, did that help you in the music world too? To
I think
transfer
so.
over?
Well, I think it all sort of blends together, doesn't it? It's a psychological crutch that I use in the same way as some people may use religion, I guess, is to look at things from a wider perspective. Because if we always centralize our thought on ourselves and the way we extrapolate our lives, then you get very boring. I have to progress musically on every record. I have to make music that speaks to a fundamental universal side of myself, not just my, oh, boo-hoo, my girlfriend left me, or I love you, baby. It's not that. It's something I am trying to chisel away at the raw material of the universe to find a diamond. And I try, because I record everything myself at home. This is my studio.
Do you ever incorporate specific frequencies for your music?
I have done that for other artists, but I haven't done it for me. And I was thinking about it the other day, actually, Mercury. Thank you for reminding me. I wanted to do some binaural stuff on maybe one song and see if it works in a club.
Well, here's another question about that, because I feel like specifically binaural beats can kind of give me headaches or migraines compared to listening to just meditation music that has specific frequencies. I'm actually kind of surprised that you haven't put that in your music, because your music still embodies the same relaxation I would get from my meditation music.
I have with other artists. I mean, it's, for example, you know, you do you know what I have done? So, I'm sorry. I've done something similar. NASA extrapolated the radio waves from Neptune and Jupiter and Mars and made them into sound. It's not what the planets sound like, but it's what they extrapolated the background radiation into as sound waves.
Kind of
So
like
it's kind of
the noise in a room that you add in for movies, like kind of like
sure
that.
Room
in
tones.
that's a fair analogy, although not quite. But I've used the sound of Jupiter in one of my songs, and I've also used the sound of Mars and the Kepler belt, because you know when they publish this stuff, it's we paid for it, it's taxpayer stuff, so there's no copyright. So I've used it in the background and at the beginning and the end. I've also used my unborn daughter's heartbeat
Wow.
Oh,
in
wow.
things. So I do really think about sound in terms of, I mean, when you hear the end of the song and there's this little, you know, the squidgy sound that an unborn child's heart makes, it kind of puts you in a frame of mind, doesn't it? It's like settles. It's wonderful.
That is beautiful.
Beautiful.
And it's very spiritual too. So you have you've done a lot of compositions. You've done a lot of sort of the beautiful spiritual music, but you also do new wave. You do an intense '80s new wave music that just kicks ass. I mean, it's straight out of 1984, '86.
Thank you.
And how did you get into that upbeat music and cross over into the electronic world?
Yeah, and when did you start making music?
I started at school. I mean, they were taught us music. I wrote my first piano piece when I was 8. So you know, that's something we learned at school. So we had no choice. It wasn't very good. And I wrote my first proper song when I was about maybe 15. Again, not very good. It takes a long time to get confident and have the complexity. And in fact, no, it's strange because I decomplexified my writing process because I realized I learned classical music. Nobody cares about, I mean, you know, people who listen to Yes and Rush will appreciate those nuances in music. But to be honest, you know, I was a huge Prince fan and a huge Cure fan. And those guys embodied something which was the opposite of what I'd been doing, which is studying classical music and playing Debussy and things like that. That was Prince. You listen to a song like "If I Was Your Girlfriend." There's nothing in that song. It's a bass, and then it's all these weird harmonies, and then there's a breakdown where he's talking about oral sex, and it's like, this is nothing like what I'm expecting from music. So it hit me from a whole different perspective that Prince was the greatest genius of our era. Like there are plenty of great writers like Bowie and John Lennon, but Prince, it, listen to Prince on his own in the studio making music that nobody's ever even come close to before or since.
Yeah,
That guy, wow. Kate
I
Bush
agree with
too.
you. I agree with you. And thankfully he's been and is recognized as that artist, which
He
is,
is,
you know,
yeah.
good for him, because it's true. He went through the ringer. He went through the gauntlet when he first came out, as you probably remember, opening up for the Rolling Stones, getting accepted into the mainstream. But as soon as he crossed over that line, that was it for him, and he blew up. You know, with Little Red Corvette, I believe was maybe his first hit, from what I remember.
That was the first big one, yeah.
Yeah, going back to the day. So that was the explosion of Prince. And now
Mhm.
you mentioned David Bowie. You seem to have a big inspiration. He inspires you. You even play in a David Bowie cover band,
Yeah, I do a David Bowie tribute. Everybody, I mean,
the band that
what
fell to earth.
that's right. And I'm Electric Duke as the, you know, the front man of that band, and I do shows with other artists as Electric Duke. I mean, everybody always told me, look, you sound like Bowie, and then they say you look like, I don't look anything like Bowie, and I don't sound anything like him. But something about my own music puts people in mind of him. So everybody always used to tell me, you know, you should sing Bowie songs.
There
I
are
said,
some
Right.
what?
songs there are some songs that you really do sound a lot like. I'm like, wow, this sounds like Bowie could have been singing this song and or writing this song.
I work with a lot of Bowie's collaborators. I have Mike Garson, the piano player, on the new album.
Wow.
And Carmine Rojas is a friend. He's bass player for Let's Dance, and he's a friend. So he's played on 8, 9 of my songs, and
And how
he's
did you meet?
I met Carmine at the Whiskey A Go Go. So he was playing bass, I was singing a couple of Bowie songs. I think it was Life on Mars and Rebel Rebel, and Carmine and I just really hit it off, because if you've ever met him, he is the sweetest, most wonderful, humble, funny, great guys you can be around. I mean, no wonder he's had such success. He's just a wonderful guy.
The
I have my
songs
Life
that
on
you
Mars
write,
poster right here. Sorry.
the, the songs that you write are they're inspired by artists. You know, everybody says to you, you should sing David Bowie because you sound like David Bowie. But in a way, you're taking the inspiration from all those artists and incorporating into your music and into your compositions. So a lot of artists will rip off a band or plagiarize rather than just be inspired by that artist and create music with them in mind. Does that make sense?
I have one song where I deliberately and willfully imitated something that was on a Bowie record. Everything else is not deliberately that. The end guitar solo of End of the Line, which is one of the songs that people know of mine and they like, that is, I am deliberately trying to play like Robert Fripp. So I'm not ripping Bowie off, I'm ripping Fripp off.
There's nothing wrong with that in sort of quote ripping off riffs for songs. I mean, to me, if it's similar, you're paying tribute, and
I hope so.
You're respecting the artist. Some people have said to me in the past with my songwriting, oh, you sound like Rush or you sound like this or that. I'm like, man, I didn't plan on that. I just it came out that way. Maybe it's because I was inspired by them. So that's.
Did you see the Little Richard documentary?
No, but you're the second person in a week who's told me about that.
It's a really good one. You must watch it, because
okay.
he knows, and actually a lot of the people who took his performances and inspiration recognize and praise him for it. And it's heartwarming to see that he recognized and understood that those people were grateful to him. But his big complaint is, well, I never made any money. And these guys, they ripped off my Paul McCartney 100%. Always says Little Richard was a big inspiration. The screams at the end of Twist and Shout, that stacked scream. And that's all Little Richard there at the end. And then that stack from the Beatles inspires David Bowie to do the Let's Dance thing. It's like it all of it just, it pays it forward. There's nothing new in the world. You have to make reference to something. You have to pay homage to your, you're standing on the shoulder of giants, whatever you do.
You said you put the needle on the record, pay it forward. You're honoring the artist, you're paying it forward, you're creating and keeping those rhythms and grooves alive for new generations.
Absolutely.
There's a new amazing scene in LA that's blowing up of old school 1950s and 60s oldies, and a lot of the bands are coming out playing oldies again, and these are young kids, and it's absolutely stunning and amazing. There's a band called the Sinceres. If you haven't, they're already playing the Greek Theater, but they are inspiring kids with the old world of music, which is great.
History repeats itself.
I have another question for your music. You've done some amazing creativity, and you've been able to insert your music into film, television. You have your songs in the Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Plush. Let's talk about your publishing experiences and stuff like that.
So I moved to LA because of the publishing. That my old band was a band called Whitey, and we had a song in Grand Theft Auto 4, which really
nice
gave us a boost. We also had in Sopranos, as you say, Breaking Bad. And then I moved to LA to sort of pursue that a little bit more and to get into the television. And so I worked with Disney through my friend Daisy O'Dell, and I worked with, had something in the newsroom, which was through my own agent. And then I kind of joined Strangelove, the Depeche Mode Experience, which is the band that sort of now pays my money. And I kind of stopped going to the parties because that's what happens. You go to the parties, the people who do the music supervision, and you meet people, and they will listen to you, and you make a good impression, and they listen to your music, and they say, "Oh, I'll place this song in my soundtrack." And if that works, then great. Otherwise, we'll get Muse to do it or Coldplay to do it or whatever. And some of the time they use what you have, and that's really lucky. I've not been proactive in it for since my daughter was born, to be honest.
How old is your daughter?
Promised, she's 10. She's just been wandering around. So she's singing on my new album, actually. She sang on the one released in March and on the next one.
Is she pursuing music and art?
She's 10, so she's just pursuing anything she can
chase. Got it. Yeah. Good comeback. She's 10.
She's a brilliant crafter. She loves crafting, and she's a very good singer. Her voice is very sweet. She sings in a choir, and she plays the piano, not as much practicing as she should, but violin, a recorder, and she loves to do music.
That's a lot of instruments for a 10-year-old.
She's just fascinated. She's very musical. She's fascinated by it all, and she writes her own little songs, and at some point I'd like for her to let me record one.
Did you happen to teach her how to play multiple instruments?
I taught her piano back in the day when, around COVID and all that stuff, we had a lot of time on our hands. So I taught her Mr. Mistopheles from Cats and all the sort of things she's into. When she went to a regular piano teacher, I think that she lost a little bit of interest because she wasn't playing songs she likes, which, and that was a problem for me when I was growing up. But I had to play things. I had to play piano the way, I had to learn Debussy. I had to learn Mozart, and I don't resent it. It was wonderful because now I have a grounding where I can play anything. But I would rather have been plodding away on Beatles songs.
Of course, reality. The preference of the Beatles. I have a 12-year-old daughter who has been learning the violin for the past 2 years. So I know the frustration they can get when it's not the song they want.
And also the sound of the violin. It sounds like torturing cats until you're good. And it takes a while to get good.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, Diego?
Was classical music for you more inspirational because you come from Europe?
I couldn't answer that. I don't come from America, so I don't know the dynamic here. I mean,
the heavy metalers really were into classical back in the day. The guitar players and the musicians were...
traditionally, Diego, when you're learning here, like say you learn at a school, they're going to teach you classical music to start with, as well as like some American ballads.
Right. Yeah,
well, I mean, I learned. I was trained in like very deeply in classical music because I went to a choir school, so there's not really much choice. And I didn't listen to any pop music. I mean, I didn't. Pertinent to your question earlier, Diego, and I'm sorry we went on a very circuitous route to get back there, but 84, 86, I was not listening to pop music. Like I wasn't allowed to listen to pop music, so I didn't experience any of that music until. When was I at school in 82 to 93, 94? That's when I started getting into music. It was about 93, 94. Pop music.
So then how did you catch the new wave? How did you catch the new wave?
The new wave bug.
It's The Cure. I mean, it was The Cure because The Cure had something deep and all-encompassing about their sound. Like just sonically, the song might be great. I mean, the Cure are a brilliant example of the perfect balance of a band that has a sound, but a band that writes great songs.
Yeah.
Like I have to hear a great song. If a band sounds like My Bloody Valentine, for example, I love My Bloody Valentine, but all the bands that sound like My Bloody Valentine generally don't have the songs that go with that sound, so they just sound like noise to me, and it's fine, but it's not great. My Bloody Valentine have a great songwriting basis, even if it's weird. It's like Sonic Youth. I love Sonic Youth sonically, which is great because that's in the name. But songwriting wise, they only had a couple of albums where they had songs that communicate anything beyond just the sound of the music, you know.
Right. Now, getting back to that, um, when you were in those 80s, in those 80s bands, um, God, I apologize. I lost my train of thought. There's my train of thought. It's back. Um, the classical music and the Cure, um, they kind of sort of do relate just because of their songwriting. I for one think that "Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me" is just a phenomenal album. So that proves it right there of how they were able to take all of those songs on that album and create that, you know, that driving force of that album with all the different types of songs on it. That definitely delivered the Cure. The Cure, you know, and I come from the heavy metal world of the 80s. We were embedded deep. So it was really hard for me to venture out from that world. But I did, and I had my favorite bands, and I really got into Goth, and I don't know a lot about it, but you know, I did follow that. So, you know, for you, I think that's very impressive that you're able to mention that and use the Cure as your way to get into the 80s music. God, that was a ramble. Uh,
I think you know what you said about metal, and I'm not really a metal fan. I mean, certainly not hair metal, but when I listen to the Deftones and and Korn and bands of that nature, where they have the same emotional tones as bands like The Cure. So some of the metal acts, like even Metallica, in their moments, it's like the emotional tone is just slightly angrier, but it's still melancholy and sad and um, driven. And I
yeah,
think that's what The Cure is, but The Cure just didn't choose to stick the distortion pedal on all the time.
right, right. Well,
In reality,
I think Korn is very similar in message and what you're saying, and they decided to stick the distortion pedal in. So you know
right.
there is a lot of the heavier bands that related to the deep music, the undertones of society, what we're going through, compared to the hair bands, compared to all that 80s stuff. There was some deep music in the metal world, and I think you know that because I
Oh, of
don't get me
course.
started on hair metal. But you know, you're right.
I
What
think
other?
I'm not dismissing or denigrating stuff like hair metal because there
Oh,
is
it's
always
good
space
times.
for fun music, right? I mean, it's
The
great,
the best of times, absolutely.
right?
So I get it. Now today your music, right? And you know, you have an album called Elysium that has been nominated for Grammy Awards,
Uh-huh.
and it's a beautiful album. What are
Thank you.
you exploring today? What's your music like today in your songwriting?
So, Elysium was the first half of a sad pair of albums because Elysium was the sort of, you know, that was the love album, and then Hone Tata Mae, which came out in March, is what happened when that relationship fell apart, and all the songs were written kind of in that way because you know once the relationship couldn't go forward, I just started writing songs that I needed to write to get out and get sort of different emotional tones out, as I was talking about before. There's a song on the new album called Malicious Intent, which is actually a really angry song, and I very rarely express anger. You know, I have this sort of Zen attitude towards things mostly. But that one is just an outpouring of absolute and utter justified disgust, disdain, and anger towards an old friend of mine who just I don't want to go into it, but but he deserves all the disdain and anger in the world. I knew him for 25 years, and he very badly betrayed me after using me for 25 years nearly. So,
I'm
and
okay
I
with
would not.
that.
I'm sorry.
I'm okay with that.
I want, you see, I want to be okay with expressing these things. It's difficult for me to express anger and annoyance. I find, you know, when I'm writing, and this is pertinent to your question, I am trying to articulate intellectually and musically, because musical expression is sort of emotional in a way. How to deal with emotional trauma or joy, depending on what the song is, right? So an emotional trauma, like there's a song called Fall Apart on the new album, which is what it sounds like. It's about falling apart and, everything going wrong and entropy setting in on your relationship and your life and all these things. And then there's a song called Sufferation, which is about longing to just pick up the phone and call the person that you love and knowing that you must not do that, whatever you do, because all it will do is start the same process that led to your pain that's in the song, So there's,
It's intense.
It's like, it's my own self-eviscerating psychological, surgery.
Right.
Healing.
Well,
Yes, thank you.
The one thing that I do recommend to a lot of folks in the rock and roll music genre is that there's nothing wrong with a good diss track.
Right.
If you got something to say, and if you have something to say about somebody,
The truth is the
wronged
truth.
you, yeah, the truth is the truth. You could sing about it. I have a few diss tracks myself, and I have
And if they
plans on
didn't
writing
want
a
to be
few more.
dissed, if they didn't want to be
Yeah.
dissed, maybe they should have respected you and treated you like a humane, like a human being, and had empathy instead of you having to do that to heal yourself because they caused damages to you.
Absolutely. I mean, the story's not over yet, so
Yeah,
we'll
good.
see. It's a great
There
song
just
to
might
sing
be
live.
there might be a healing song and a reconnection song down the line. Who knows? What's your opinion on music today, and where we're heading?
So I actually think there's some really, really good music around today. Have you heard of a British rapper stroke singer called Ren?
No.
Yes, I have.
There's a song called Hi Ren, and it's not going to sound appealing. He plays it all on a Spanish classical acoustic guitar, sitting in hospital robes in a basement. And it's a 9.5-minute song. And if you're not perfectly in tears or healed after listening to that song, then you have no soul. It's so good. And then the rest of his work is also great. But that song,
I'm a big fan of hip hop. There's some amazing new music out there today. Another British rapper, sort of say, is Bob Vylan, the duo. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with Bob Vylan. They're another intense band. Um, as I'm sorry, as far as your music and the genre that you write, are you collaborating with artists these days on new music?
Well, let's rewind from the new music and go back to some previous projects that you have that already came out. I know we discussed some of the TV stuff you did, but we didn't really get into like the film. I'm aware you worked on music with Lana Del Rey for Maleficent. What was that like?
So that was through my friend Daisy O'Dell, who's a very most magnificent DJ and producer who lives in LA. And she brought me in to do the promo for Maleficent. And we worked on it together. I mean, she's more of a director than a musician. So she has a great musical ears. She's one of the best DJs in the world, but she's, less hands-on than I am. So we arranged the promo for that. And we won this gold plaque here is a golden trailer award. It's for the trailer for Maleficent, and Lana sang the song. I didn't meet her, unfortunately. I didn't get to spend the time recording with her, but obviously a great honor that she would do that with us. So that was very, and it was through Disney, so it was not paid, which which is nice.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it was paid.
Okay.
It was one of the rare gigs I get that's actually paid reasonably well. So
okay, that's great news. Sorry, I thought you meant like that they didn't pay you for something. But it was
Disney
a good,
are very good.
good Disney news, not the bad.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Unite for Humanity and your experience performing for Bill Clinton and Robert De Niro.
So I didn't perform. It was performed. So again, it was Daisy O'Dell, same person, same collaborator, brought me in the work. It was for television. I don't know whether you remember those guys. They were a dance troupe that do very cool things with screens. It was very interesting, very cool. And I'd never heard of them before she came in. I've never heard of them since. But we went to the event, and the event was, I believe, sponsored by some Russian oligarch or something. I better not say anything more in case I get into trouble. And there was Robert De Niro was there. Bill Clinton gave the key speech. So they were all sitting on their tables with this performance with our song. The song called, I can't remember the name of the song. Sorry, it was Rising or something like that. It was good. It was a good song, and it was our music, and everything I played was what was going on in the background, but I wasn't actually on stage, unfortunately.
Yeah, but still, the sense of pride and the fact that your music is being performed for such dignitaries is pretty amazing. You got to feel that.
Really surprised me was Bill Clinton is a divisive figure, I think, in a lot of ways. And I'm a huge, blanked on his name now. He's I can see his face. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of this one author. And he wrote a book about the Clintons, which was quite damning of their way of doing things. And I don't know whether I believe it or not, but Christopher Hitchens, he's never been sued because he can prove everything he's written. So that's, to me, says that, that he never wrote anything that wasn't true. And Bill Clinton speaking at this event was one of the most charming, articulate, persuasive people I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely wonderful. I can well see why he was elected president. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was. I'll give him that as far as the president goes. Personality, and the Clintons, sure, they have their skeletons, I'm sure. So, but we'll let that one go.
Yeah, that's not the discussion for it.
You do have some amazing songs. Abade, how do you pronounce that?
Obad.
Obad is a beautiful, beautiful number.
Thank you.
How you wrote that overnight?
Yeah, yeah. It was. I actually wrote it in about 3.5 hours, and I often do this. I'll play. There's another song on that album, same album, where I just played some guitar, recorded it all the way through. I had a click track going, and I recorded it, and then I just wrote the song to what was on the track. So I did that with Obad, and I wrote the piano piece, just sat and played it all the way through to a click track again, and then just wrote the song over the top. And I hate to be candid about it, but it's a bit like Muse, isn't it? I mean, there are some similarities to Muse, and in some ways they were influential to me at the time, and I'm not a huge fan really, but that was how that one came about. And Obad, I have to explain the title if you're not familiar. Obad is a style of poetry which is written by poems who are lying in the bed. It's very specific. They're lying in bed with their lover in the morning of the night after. In the morning after the night before. And they are generally disdaining the sun, which is trying to intrude on their, they have to go to work, and they're like, no, I want to be here with my lover. And so it's a very specific sentiment. John Donne wrote a very famous one called Obad, and it's going out, pale sun that would invade our morning, or something like that. It's beautiful. And so Philip Larkin also wrote one. I love poetry and literature, so I often base some of my, inspiration on stuff like that.
Well, I didn't think about Muse when I was listening to it, so even though I can sense it now, but it is a beautiful, beautiful number, and I'm taken by it. So congratulations on that. Your songwriting is amazing.
Yeah, you have some very heartfelt, beautiful, romantic songs, but also the spacey element. Which I do have a request. It would be really great to hear you do a cover. Did you ever watch that Disney movie, Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, something like that?
I have never heard of that movie, no.
Okay, I'm surprised. All right, you have a daughter. You need to watch it on Disney Plus with her. It's Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
Okay.
The actress that played That's So Raven from Disney is also in it. So it takes
Simone.
place. It takes place in the future, and they're in space. And there's a little boy band in it, and there's a song called "Supernova Girl." And I think you need to make your own version of that song.
Okay. Write it to me in my Facebook, and I'll try and remember.
Yeah.
I have a question going back to have you ever seen the movie or read the book The Little Prince?
Yes, yeah. I bought that pop-up book for my daughter.
Have you seen the movie that came
Yeah.
out in the 1960s?
With Bob Fosse
Just
as the snake.
Bob
of course.
Fosse.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid, that was one of my favorite movies. I don't know how I connected to that movie, but I did. Did that movie have any kind of impact on you because of your, you know, I thought about that when I read up about your interest in space and the stars and all that as a kid, and then coming
I
into
never
music.
saw the movie when it was out originally, and I never had the book. But when I saw it with Phoebe's my daughter, and bought her the book, it is very much in my lane in that sense, because it is very childlike. There's a dichotomy of it. It's very childlike, but it is also very world weary, because there's the sort of political commentary, but the political commentary is shown to be incredibly heavy-handed in juxtaposition to the way the child sees it, and it's an incredibly brilliantly put together book. I think I love children's books like that, like Jonathan Livingston Seagull and The Petit Prince and all these ones, because they embody something richer than just a story about a kid.
Yeah.
That's very important to me. And that, as I say, that's the way I write my songs. I always want to embody something that is richer than just the story of the song.
Right. Yeah. And the fact that The Little Prince being the movie was a musical was also something that captivated me, you know.
Oh, and
So, and
Bob
it
Fosse
always
particularly.
inspired me, you know.
Yeah.
Mercury, you got to see The Little Prince with B if you get a chance. It's a
I've seen it.
fantastic movie.
I've seen
Oh,
it.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I have another question for you. Um, let's talk about Art Angelus
Oh, okay.
and this nonprofit that you're working with.
I'm afraid to say that's an old story. That is why, and the reason I mention that in any of the promotional material is because that's why my Bowie band got started. Because I did that for maybe 9 months to a year, a long time ago, and then my
Okay,
daughter was born, and I couldn't do it anymore because it was art charity that we set up. It was basically we brought myself and my friend Jonathan Burks used to be in a band called Woven, very, very excellent musician too. We decided we feel blessed that we get to do what we want to do, that we are very privileged. He's a white guy, I'm a white guy, that, we have had this opportunity to be who we want to be in life. So we want to bring that back and give something back as a, redress the balance. So we both decided, okay, we're going to go and we're going to teach these kids music and songwriting and all that stuff. So they were, happy because this place in Watts, which is there's a rec center in Watts, it's right by the Watts Towers. And parents who obviously work 2 or 3 jobs each just dump their kids there. And there's like 2 adults to look after 30, 40 crazy kids. So we just thought, okay, well, let's bring some music there. And, we had a drum kit, which was Johnny's drum kit. We had the guitar, which was my acoustic guitar. And these kids were bashing the hell out of it. So I said, we need to buy instruments for the rec center so the kids can just play these basher instruments rather than our prized, stuff.
yeah,
So I put together a Bowie show, and that was how the Bowie tribute got started. Because I thought, if I'm going to get people out to see us play, I want them to pay money and I want them to want to come, because they've all come and seen me play 50 times and they're very supportive. But this is for fundraising, and it was a challenge to try and get all the Bowie songs together. So
right.
that's
That's
what Art
amazing.
Angeles was.
That is very cool. Just as, on a side note for Art Angelus, my father was born in a house across the street from the Watts Towers.
Oh, really?
So the Watts and the Watts Towers has a deep connection to me and my family.
Right. It's
I,
a
I do.
beautiful place. I mean, well, the
Absolutely.
towers are nice.
The towers, when Rhodesia was building those towers, my dad and his kid friends, what they would do would they would go to the towers because there was this dog, this guard dog who was inside the gate. So they would pick a kid to draw the dog over to one side while they would all climb the gate on the other, the fence, and right up into the towers, and they would spend the whole day just climbing in the towers, hoping not to fall so they get bit by the dog. But yeah, that was what my dad used to do when he was a kid over at the towers. So good for you,
Well, that's
man.
a really cool story.
But speaking of, it's funny how you're kind of following the footsteps of some of your heroes here, because I don't think you may be aware of this, but we found out about this through a previous interview we had with Ross Rylance, who used to be the tour bus driver and worked PR. Was it PR he worked for Prince?
He was in production. No, he was in the production
Well,
department
he had
on
shared
tour.
with us that Prince used to take all the tour buses and make everyone do the same production for inner city kids. And here you are saying Prince is basically like your idol, and you're here following the footsteps, doing something for the community
And
back,
that's what you
having
were doing.
no
Yeah.
idea.
According to Ross, Prince would take breaks from his tour and move the entire show to a school and set up and perform the entire show with the crew, and everybody was down for it. Everybody loved doing it, and that was one of his kicks, was that he would go around to the inner cities and perform with his with the same show. So,
Well,
and Ross
Prince
was a
had a
part of that. So
Prince had a tough time growing up. I mean, I read a little bit about him, and he was always aware, that giving back is more important than experiencing the fame and the luxury and all that stuff. And it is really important to do things that come from the heart for free for people that appreciate it. Because you've been in the music industry a long time, as have I, and music is a great connector. It's something that we can offer people. And of course, you get to the point where you have to make money. It's your family and all that. You're looking after everybody. But what put you there, you never forget that.
yeah.
So you always need to be service. The service is a very important part of pretty much every religion and spiritual practice, right? I mean, that's so. I'm looking for my service at the moment. I can't. It's been difficult because I've been traveling so much. So
Well, like my grandfather used to say, the answer will come. And when we find that service, to me, my mantra has always been pay it forward.
right.
I've been through the ringer of show business, the ups and downs, but you know what? I can honestly say it's been an amazing adventure, and to pay it forward and to provide those experiences for other people to me is, you got to be an empath. You got to have empathy for folks. You got to, it's good to help, and it feels good inside too.
And
So,
in the end,
you
it's
know,
good karma, and like every sacrifice you make and every gift you give will come back for you.
okay, so
Threefold hope.
yeah. Now, so what are you involved in now, and what are your current projects, and where are you heading
So
these days?
aside from the originals, and the new, because I have a new album fairly done actually. I've got so much stuff sitting on my hard drive. I've been going through it. So I have a new album, pretty much done. It's more acoustic based. It's like I wrote most of it on acoustic guitar, so it's produced
Nice.
that way. It's kind of like there's a bits of Zeppelin in there, but there's also a bits
Wow.
of Hunky Dory by Bowie. That kind of approach. But also my colleague he's basically a label manager that I'm associated with, called David Chatfield, has been remixing all of my hits as he sees them. And there's going to be a remix album featuring one new song coming out in August. And the one new song that he has, and he's going to be the first one to release it, if it isn't a hit song, then I have never written a hit song, because it's pretty catchy, and it's
Got
really,
a lot of potential.
yeah,
Nice.
it's
I look.
upbeat. It's
Do you have an album title? Do you have a working album title, or do you have an album title yet?
so the greatest hits, I haven't thought of one for that one yet, but the next album is probably going to be called "I Love You Despite It All."
I love it. Yeah.
And it's not directed towards any one specific person. It's
Right.
directed towards like the universe, the world, human beings, whatever it is.
Right.
And
Well-
there's a few love songs on there, but it's not that really.
Sure.
It's something else.
It could be considered self-love.
I have to do a lot of that these days.
Forgiving yourself.
And so now you do got a gig coming up at the Wiltern Theater.
Yes, sir. The 16th of August is I'm opening for Strangelove. So it's myself and my band. Then it's a band called Julian K from who are wonderful. They used to be an Orgy. Do you know the band Orgy?
Yeah,
Sure,
I've seen both of
absolutely.
them at the Whiskey before.
Yeah.
You've seen
Classic.
Julian K
Yeah.
before? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're following me, and then Stabbing Westward is on next, and then it's
I have a friend who
Strangelove.
plays drums for Orgy whenever they're around.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. They did the Blue Monday. That's their big song, isn't it? They covered Blue Monday.
Yeah, it's their hit.
Julian K is really good, and Stabbing Westward I actually don't know much about them, but I hear they're quite successful. And then Strangelove, the Depeche Mode Experience, for which I play keyboards, is closing the night. So it's a me sandwich, as I said earlier.
That's awesome, Julian. This has been an amazing conversation, and I'm very impressed, and I'm very honored that you were able to come on this and chat with us. I'm sure Mercury is, and Bill. I do want to thank you for coming on to this conversation and podcast. We're gonna sign off, but seriously, this has been a great talk.
Before we go, we like to ask
Go
this
ahead.
question of all of our guests. If you have some piece of advice for any youngins or people who are aspiring to follow a career in your footsteps, what advice would you give them?
Try not to come in my footsteps, because it took a long time, and it was there's a lot of rejection in the music industry, and you just have to follow your muse, and
Stick
people
with
will follow you.
TikTok. No, just kidding.
Yeah, if you write 15 seconds worth of bankable content, and you'll be fine.
No, but seriously, what tell us?
My
tell us, boss.
advice is this: it is, don't go chasing butterflies. Build your garden, and they will come. And in this context, that means write the best music you can that makes you happy and does for you what you wish people want to get from your music, and people will take notice. I mean, you just have to trust the process, because I did spend a lot of time not chasing fame, but trying to figure out what the next big thing was and all that stuff. And as soon as I started writing stuff that just meant something to me, people started loving it and buying it and being moved by it. So that's the advice. Just follow your muse, wherever that muse goes.
I love it. That's an
And don't go
inspiration.
chasing waterfalls. Just
Yeah. Julian
Exactly.
Shah-Tayler, thank you very much for coming on this podcast. And if there's anything we can help you with in the future, let us know. We're here for you. Thank you. It's been an honor.
it's an honor.
I appreciate it. If you guys can come to the show at the Wilton.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be there. Let us. Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to it. So, okay,
Fabulous.
this was another episode of the Candlepower Hour, fueled by Electrocast. Go to electrocast.com and all major streaming sites. We're honored. And thank you very much for Julian Shah-Tayler on the Candlepower Hour. Bill Matoyer is busy. Dan Moore, we're signing out. Thank you.
Sit, Lulu, sit.
Powered by
Electrocast.